Welcome to meeting number 28 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Natural Resources. We're here today pursuant to two motions to address the main estimates and the supplementary estimates A. I want to thank all of our departmental staff, the Deputy Minister and the 5 Assistant Deputy Ministers for joining us yet again. The frequency of your appearances here are higher and higher as time passes, and we're very grateful for that. It provides great assistance to us. And of course, the Minister is here till 2:30 today, and I want to thank him for making himself available. The supplementary estimates A were tabled yesterday, which enables us to deal with both today. So onward we move. I don't need to go through all the rules because everybody here knows them as well or better than I do. So let's just jump right in. Minister, thank you again, and I will turn the floor over to you, sir.
All right. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je vous parle aujourd'hui depuis l'île de Terre-Neuve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm speaking to you from the island of Newfoundland.
C'est aussi l'une des provinces qui produit.
Over half of Canadians have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. So I want to start my remarks talking about, I think, some of the significant developments in recent weeks, even recent days in energy. We are at a particular moment in time, I think a defining moment, one where globally, an increasing number of jurisdictions and countries and companies are charting their pathways to net zero. The International Energy Agency recently issued a report, Net Zero by 2050, which I'm sure we will talk more about today. It is a roadmap for the global energy sector. It is something that Canada called on the IEA to do. The first analysis that is compliant with limiting a rise in global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We asked them to conduct the report because we wanted to have a view, a highly technical view of what the world needs to know and what the world would look like in order to get to net zero. Peu de temps après, les ministres de...
Shortly after, the climate ministers and environment ministers of the G7 met and jointly agreed to keep a limit of 1.5 degrees Celsius by aiming to achieve net zero emissions as soon as possible by 2050 at the latest.
Newfoundland and Labrador, Dame Moya Green issued a report on the future of this province, and it was an unflinching look at a dire financial situation. There's no sense beating around the bush on that. A lot of hard work ahead of us, a lot of tough decisions, and a lot of that conversations around energy. And just the other day, on Wednesday of this week, 3 events, the reverberations of which are still being felt. People are still reeling in the industry about these. A landmark decision by a court in the Netherlands ordering Royal Dutch Shell to cut emissions by 45% by 2030. Shareholders of another major oil company, Chevron, backed a proposal by a convincing majority of 61% to cut their Scope 3 emissions, the emissions generated by customers' use of the products that they sell. And ExxonMobil shareholders voted to install 2 new independent directors in I think, what the Financial Times and The Economist and everybody's calling a clear rebuke of the company's efforts or lack thereof to meaningfully address climate change to date. I think what all of these events demonstrate is that the world is calling for increased climate ambition. The market is demanding it. Investors are demanding it. Je l'ai déjà dit et je l'ai dit.
I've already said it, and I'll say it again. It's important. The world is waiting for it.
World Leaders Summit, countries announced historic new climate ambitions, 40 countries, Canada among them, accounting for half of the world's economy. We committed to act. We committed to lower emissions. Companies are taking action. Some too slowly, but some very decisively. On Wednesday, Suncor committed to net zero by 2050. actually increasing their ambition, real Canadian leadership. And that's to match the mark set by Cenovus Energy earlier last year. Yesterday, Canada's oldest oil and gas trade association announced a new name, a new brand and mandate. After 72 years, the Canadian Association of Oil Well Drilling Contractors is now the Canadian Association of Energy Contractors, which just broadens their horizons. I think increases their ambition looking at hydrogen, geothermal, CCUS. That is Canadian leadership right there. That is meeting the moment. That's basically it. I mean, we can duck and run for cover, as some would have us do, and stick our heads in the sand and avoid those tough conversations and ultimately leave Canadian workers and our proud industry behind. Or we can lead by facing these challenges head on with conviction and with tenacity, leveraging that innate Canadian capacity, that capacity of our workers to use their ingenuity, their expertise, and their experience to meet Canada's challenges head on. And I choose the latter, as I've said before in this committee. We have to define the moment that we find ourselves in. We got to meet the challenges that this moment presents. Canadians, I think, for the most part, understand that we need to choose the latter. Workers, I think, are choosing the latter. Ce comité a choisi la dernière option.
This committee chose the latter option to work on renewable fuels and low emissions, and you also welcome the opportunity to study critical minerals, where Canada has a clear advantage, and we have the opportunity to be a world leader.
I'd like to thank the committee for the good work on the recent report, Economic Recovery in Canada's Forest Sector, Green and Inclusive. We are analyzing the recommendations, and we are working on a forthcoming response to you. Le budget 2021
Budget 2021 chooses the latter option. 4 major investments put Natural Resources Canada at the center of our green recovery. $319 million will be invested over 7 years to encourage an expansion of carbon capture, utilization, and storage technologies. $36.8 million will be invested over 3 years to advance critical battery mineral processing and refining expertise. $9.6 million will also be invested over 3 years to create a critical battery minerals center of excellence. And finally, $1.5 billion will be invested over 5 years for the Clean Fuels Fund. This will position Canada as a global leader in areas such as hydrogen and biomass.
Budget 2021 continues to build on the progress of our government over the past 2 years and the priorities that we're working on at Natural Resources Canada in the 2021-22 main estimates and the supplementary estimates A. Priorities that underpin our support for workers and our drive to lower emissions. Steps on Canada's pathway to net zero, like the $570 million in the main estimates for the Emissions Reduction Fund. It is a fund that is working. There's been high uptake across streams, and we recently announced the first set of projects, 40 projects across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, 16 projects in my province in the Newfoundland offshore. And these are real projects that are creating real jobs for workers, and they're underway right now to lower emissions. The mains also includes $84 million for last year and $309 million this fiscal year for greener homes. Yesterday, we launched the Canada Greener Homes Grant so Canadians can lower their energy bills and lower emissions. It's a program that drives economic activity. It creates jobs for energy advisors and local trades, manufacturers of energy efficient products like windows, doors, solar panels. The mains provide $174.5 million in 2021-22 to support forestry, diversifying and innovating, especially in the emerging bioeconomy, something again which I commend this committee for studying. Funding for programs like the investments in forest industry transformation and the Forest Innovation Program, programs that this committee has heard at length about the positive impact across the country, programs that sustain jobs and increase the sector's competitiveness. And the supplementary estimates A further supports forestry. It's got a down payment there of $71.4 million for our 2 billion trees program to increase forest cover an area 10 times the size of PEI. Trees are being planted this spring. I look forward to sharing more about this very soon. The last program I'll highlight is creating green jobs for Canada's youth. Supplementary estimates A includes $43.9 million for our science and technology internship program, creating 1,500 green jobs for youth with a focus on Indigenous and Northern youth. Jobs like designing and implementing new wind energy systems. So youth can lead and be a part of the net zero solutions that we need to build our low emissions energy future. And I think those are just some of the priorities we're working on. I don't have enough time in my opening remarks to speak to all of them. Every day, I would say, as Minister of Natural Resources, I'm constantly impressed by the drive and the officials and the staff at Natural Resources Canada. They are meeting the moment, I believe. They are ready to tackle the challenge. Some of them, as you know, are here alongside with me today, as they always are. Monsieur le Président, il existe des défis.
Mr. Chair, there are challenges that continue to face us. There is Pipeline 5, there is a softwood situation. We will always defend Canada's interest when we're faced by these challenges. Mr. Chair, allow me to end where I started. The time in which we find ourselves, this moment of opportunity for our country, for the workers who have built this country.
The world has the natural resources wealth that we do. We are the 4th largest producer of oil and gas in the world with the 3rd largest reserves. We are 3rd in the world for hydroelectricity. We are one of only 5 Tier 1 nations for nuclear energy. We are a pace setter on clean hydrogen and fuel cell technologies. We are a supplier of choice for the minerals critical to powering a clean energy future. We are a top-ranked country for clean technology, including smart grids, storage technology, and carbon capture. And we became all of those things not by sheer happenstance or coincidence. We became what we are because of the workers at the heart of these industries. These are proud and pragmatic, practical people who work in natural resources sectors right across the country. They don't avoid tough conversations or the challenges. They confront them head on. They are leading, as are we. We have a common mission: net zero emissions by 2050. A prosperous economy that continues to create jobs, and a low carbon future that leaves no one behind. I am joined today by my officials, Jean-François Tremblay, the Deputy Minister, Shirley Carruthers, who is Assistant Deputy Minister of Corporate Management and Services Sector and our Chief Financial Officer. Glenn Hargrove is there, Assistant Deputy Minister for Major Projects Management Office, for Strategic Petroleum Policy in our Investment Office. Molly Johnson, Assistant Deputy Minister for Low Carbon Energy Sector. Jeff Labonte, who is Assistant Deputy Minister for Lands and Minerals Sector, and Beth McNeil, who is Assistant Deputy Minister for the Canadian Forest Service. One last word. I am proud to have appeared before this committee 3 times over the past 4 months. I am proud of the constructive relationships that I have with my opposition critics, with Greg, with Mario, with Richard, as well as other members of this committee. We hardly agree, nor should we. We all have jobs to do. But I do believe that constructive relationships are how we best serve Canadians. It's how we tackle the challenges that we face. And I look forward to continuing this important work. With that, I welcome your questions. Merci.
Minister, thank you very much. And you're quite right. I mean, your departmental officials are stellar, and we are always very grateful for their input and your input. And we're very proud of the working relationship we have on this committee, too. We get along famously. We respectfully disagree at times, but respectfully is the key word there. So thank you for those remarks. And I forgot at the outset to welcome Mr. McLeod back to our committee. He's substituting for Mr. May today. This is a homecoming of sorts for him because Mr. McLeod was on this committee back in 2015 for a number of years. So glad to have you here today, Mr. McLeod. Now we'll start our first round of 6-minute questions with Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minister, for being generous with your time with us today at this committee. I really appreciated your comments, and I'm going to start with something you mentioned there, and I want to go at a top level here. First of all, in the estimates, you talked about Canada's natural resource wealth and how, of course, across the world, we stand out in so many ways. And yet, you look at the budget for your department this year, The mains last year were 1.4 billion for the Department of Natural Resources, and this year it's at 2.2 billion. And it went up over, of course, from 1.4 to 1.8 to 2.2. But safe to say that over the last year, there's been no real development in the natural resource industry sector in Canada. So is it safe to say at this point in time that you are becoming a cost center for the Canadian taxpayers, as opposed to a sector that used to be a profit sector for the Canadian taxpayer?
You weren't kidding when you said that that's a high-level question, Mr. McLean, and you're right. To pose it, I don't agree with that assessment. I would say, we are firstly, looking at making very strategic investments in the sector. I would also say this: there are many other departments, and I think, strongly, I think of innovation, I think of ECCC, I think of Infrastructure Canada, which have, helped us make the investments that we need to make, particularly, when we look at the challenges facing our energy industry, and things like net zero, the net zero accelerator. I would like to think that, in fact, the natural resources sector is so high on our priority list that it sometimes branches out beyond this one department. I have made it quite clear where we stand as a sector in driving this economy. If other ministers and departments want to share in that enthusiasm and in that wise investment, then I welcome it.
Thank you. Let me punch into the numbers a little more directly now. We talk about, the extra money that's being spent here, or less money that's been spent in some cases. Clean Growth and Natural Resources Sector Innovation Program is down by $10 million to $28 million in this set of estimates. And the contribution in support of expanding market opportunities is up by $17 million. Tie this in with what's happening with the liquefied natural gas sector on the west coast of Canada, where we used to have over 20 projects vying for export opportunities around the world. And they competed with, obviously, opportunities elsewhere in the world. And now that's down to 2 that are in process right now. Recently, as you know, Woodside just finally pulled out of their joint venture with Chevron as well. So that is not, Kitimat LNG is not proceeding as well. Big loss for the country again. How does putting more government money in to replace the private sector money, which is obviously leaving for a reason? And I will note that large organizations, and Woodside is not a large organization, do not put $3 billion into a project in a foreign country to walk away without something changing as a result of the macroeconomic factors. And those macroeconomic factors are not external, they're in Canada. So please explain that for me.
Yeah, I would share the members' disappointment with the news about Woodside and the fact that they withdrew from the project. It first of all, it affects the local communities, particularly the Haisla First Nation, and who were supportive of the project. It was a market-based decision. The CER had already approved Kitimat's LNG application for an export license. The project was ready to proceed. I'll share with you what the CEO of Australia's Woodside Petroleum, what he had to say about their decision. He said purchasers of LNG who don't want to commit to long-term contracts because of the price of renewable generated electricity, such as wind and solar, has dropped 80 to 90% over the last 10 years. It's easy to blame the regulatory process, and it's easy to blame the government. The reality is that the market is moving, and it's moved particularly fast over the past year and a half. As I said in my opening remarks, the energy landscape is changing. Companies are reacting. I would certainly agree that governments have to be equally nimble in this marketplace, but it is moving extraordinarily fast. And one of those reasons is the price of renewable generated electricity, like wind and solar, has plummeted over the last little while, and continues to do so as the market reacts.
And yet, Minister, we know for certain that the coal combustion growth is going to continue in Asia for decades yet. Look at the number of projects that are on the books for being built in Asia. They're looking for cleaner alternatives, including Canadian liquefied natural gas. And we're not able to provide it here. And the reason we're not able to provide it here is because we no longer have clarity of outcome. And that's been clear in the regulatory process under your government. And it does push the timeline. And in business, time is money, as you would know. But you did mention as well about the Indigenous partnerships. In this set of estimates, you're talking about 6 million more for Indigenous natural resources partnerships and contributions in support of Indigenous economic development of 3 million. So 9 million more. And yet what we've foregone here in Kitimat alone is about a $2 billion economic benefit for the Haisla First Nation and tens of millions of dollars of contracts for all the 16 First Nations along the Pacific Trails pipeline that was going to be built along the way. So putting more government money into these partnerships to replace the billions and tens of millions that were being spent by these companies is a drop in the bucket for Indigenous economic reconciliation. How do you square that?
First, let me speak to the issue of LNG. I mean, I agree with you. I think that there are certainly jurisdictions in the world that are attempting to get off coal, thinking particularly of markets in Asia, where LNG could come in quite handy. And ultimately, our focus can and must be on lowering emissions. So we see a market for LNG. We see a market for Canadian LNG in displacing coal in those marketplaces that do not have the option. I would say on Indigenous. I mean, I look at Indigenous natural resource partnerships. We announced that I think in November of last year. I think that these are pivotal. I mean, with the INRP, it's up to $12 million in additional funding over 2 years, and that's in addition to the existing program. But I mean, this is something I'm intimately familiar with because I've studied it and I've been there on capacity building of Indigenous groups. When we build up those capacities, then that does help their participation in economic development through natural resources, should they choose to pursue it. It is incredible bang for the buck because it allows them with confidence to participate in the environmental assessment process. And wherever we can have that surety and that certainty, as you mentioned and as I brought up before, wherever we can do that, then the chances of getting good projects done in this country are increased demonstrably. So modest funding, but big bang for the buck.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Minister.
Do you have more time?
No, in fact, you owe me some.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Mr. Weiler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minister, for joining our committee today to talk about the main and supplementary estimates. And really appreciate your opening comments and just speaking about the breadth of all the different programs that are under your mandate here, everywhere from traditional natural resource sectors to a lot of the areas that we're moving towards right now as well, and that are going to lead job growth in our country in the future. In the estimates this year, Natural Resources Canada is requesting $24 million in support for electrical vehicles and alternative fuel infrastructure deployment, and $34 million in support of the Zero Emissions Vehicle Infrastructure Program. And these two programs have made a huge difference in my riding, with 27 new charging stations being established in Whistler and Squamish just last year. And I know the Village of Lions Bay is interested in it, as well. The District of West Vancouver is in the midst of considering transitioning its entire fleet to electric vehicles. So more charging infrastructure and support for the temporary additional costs that we're going to see for EVs until they reach parity in a few years from both the federal level and the provincial level is why BC has the fastest electrical vehicle adoption rate in North America right now. We know this is important because Canada has the least fuel efficient fleet in the world, and transportation is our second largest source of emissions right now. And so my question through you, Mr. Chair, is what opportunities do you see for Canada's economy with the rollout of cleaner transportation throughout the whole value chain, and how do these programs fit into it?
Sure, I'm off mute. I am. Okay, thank you very much. This is, it's been a remarkable time for EVs. I mean, even the fact that we are seeing such enthusiasm south of the border for this now. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, we saw President Biden in Detroit rolling off a Ford F-150 Lightning. If you see something like a pickup like the F-150, which is without a doubt the most popular vehicle in my province, if that goes electric and the consumer buys into it, the real turning point. GM saying that they would, stop internal combustion engines after it was 2035. This is remarkable. Canadians want those greener options. So, we're trying to give it to them, and we have an ambitious goal. So 100% of light duty vehicle sales, zero emission in Canada by 2040. We are building, as you said, coast-to-coast networks of zero-emission vehicle chargers, so that Canadians no longer have to worry about range anxiety. That's a big one for a lot of people, or the accessibility of charging infrastructure. We're making the switch to electric and zero-emission vehicles easier where we can. We're installing those chargers where Canadians work, where they live, where they play. Our investments have been working. NRCan, we offer two funding streams, and both see heavy uptake during the call for proposals. We got the Electric Vehicle and Alternative Fuel Infrastructure Deployment Initiative. It's resulted in 1,087 chargers funded, nearly half of which are currently open. We've got the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program that has also been hugely successful, running 3 calls for funding each year, yielding proposals for thousands of chargers. In 2019, we had 1 call for proposals alone, which yielded 52 projects to install 1,866 level 2 and 351 fast chargers. And for our 2020 calls for proposals, we received nearly 100 project proposals for potential 10,000 charging stations. So programs like this, installing charging infrastructure, incentives to make EVs more affordable, that's how you get to net zero by 2050. It is very popular with Canadians, but you got to meet them halfway. You can't have people have range anxiety. So that's what we're attempting to do here. And ultimately, I think that a lot of people will find the ease of charging in your car at home or at the office is just as easy as we charge in our phones, which we do just habitually, and you save money. This is all only going to work if people feel they're saving money and are in fact saving money.
Absolutely. And I think that's some of the things that a lot of Canadians don't realize, just how much money you can save in terms of operational costs by having an electric vehicle. So I think there's a need to get more of that information out there. But in the fall economic statement, the federal government committed $2.6 billion towards a home retrofit program. In the estimates this year, we're requesting, or Natural Resources is requesting rather, $210 million in grants in furtherance of it. And I know this is the program I get asked about just about as much as anything else, because I know constituents are very interested in doing what they can to shrink their own carbon footprint, as well as to save money on home heating bills. I also speak to contractors very frequently that are interested to do work in this space, although of course they're very busy these days.
Yeah.
But I was hoping you could just talk a little bit more about the details of this program, when people are going to be able to access it and how.
Right now, go to our website. It gets back to the answer that I just gave to your previous question, Mr. Weiler, which is it is only going to work if people feel they're saving money, and in fact they are saving money. And to be honest with you, my own personal thought on this is that so much of the talk on climate change and combating climate change has the tone of sacrifice. And in fact, if it's done well, people save money. There's if we can get the incentives right, if government can play its part, then it's about efficiency, and through efficiency, people should be able to save money, and that's how you make sure that it's sustained. That let the marketplace take over, which we're seeing at as I mentioned earlier, with oil companies around the world right now. It's happening at a macro level, and here we're switching over and going to a micro level, to a household level. So we're giving Canadians up to $5,000 to make their homes more energy efficient, lower their bills, lower emissions. It's climate action starting at home. But it's just by saving money, and by retrofitting homes, it creates jobs. I'm very sensitive to creating jobs in every part of the country. When as I've said to this committee before, I grew up in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Labrador. Federal programs were not something that included us very often, and it was very cookie cutter. We wanted to make sure that we worked with the provinces and the utilities, every one of them in this case, to make sure that we get it right from the ground up, and that retrofits have to happen in your home by people who have to be in or near your community, contractors, right? So you got work for them, and work for contractors, work for energy advisors.
Thank you. I hate interrupting, and I'm always looking for the opportune time when there's a break. But people are very enthused about this topic today, so yeah, it's more challenging. So I apologize for interrupting. Okay, Mr. Simard, over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, James. Thank you for being here with us, Minister. I was listening your introductory remarks very attentively. You have said that we're at a decisive moment to move towards carbon neutrality. And you've also referred to the International Energy Agency who indicated in a study this week that we should not launch new gas or oil projects. So I'm a little bit surprised because in 2020, I think there were 40 new offshore drilling projects, and the environmental assessment processes were not modified, but they were abolished. So I don't see how that can be reconciliated with this decisive or historic moment to move to carbon neutrality. And the chair in the Sunday is this emissions reduction fund, $559 million. So that's what you're going to give as a funding support for the gas and oil industry so that it can be more ecological. I don't know on what basis you made this decision, but to me, personally, it seems to me just to be greenwashed. And there is a important or a large sum of money that could have been invested in the natural resource sector that are promising for fighting against climate change. I'm thinking about the forestry industry. So on what basis, Minister, did you decide to offer $559 million in support to the oil and gas industry? Thank you for the question.
Forgive me once again, Monsieur Samar, for my English and for my inability to answer you substantially in your language. Working on it, but I will direct. First of all, I will speak briefly about the IEA report, and I want to dig into your comments about the offshore. Obviously, something that I'm very passionate about. And as this committee knows, Newfoundland and Labrador relies more on the royalties from its oil industry than even Alberta, which is obviously substantial. So to speak to the IEA report, it is something that we're looking at very carefully, its implications for this country. We had asked them to commission this report. It's helpful to remember that the IEA was formed by the OECD in 1974 to make sure that the world has enough oil after the price shocks of the 1970s. So for the IEA to come out in 2021 and say, we think that the world does have enough oil is seminal. I think it's worth saying that, and I think that it's not coincidental that we saw on the 26th the upheaval in three major oil companies that we have seen. I think that shareholders and investors are reacting. Having said that, it's very sweeping and not particular in some cases to Canada. I would say this about the offshore. First of all, Newfoundland and Labrador's sweet light crude is some of the lowest intensity emission per barrel in the world. Even the IEA acknowledges that oil and gas will be in the mix for quite some time, including up to and including 2050. So we are laser focused on lowering emissions. If you can begin with a product that inherently has lower emissions, that is a good thing. But we are also looking at working with the industry to lower emissions in the extraction and operation.
Mon temps est très court.
I'm sorry, Minister, I don't have a lot of time. I would like to focus on the famous emissions reduction fund. On what basis did you make the decision to invest $559 million in a program that's only addressed to the oil and gas industry? What's the justification for that amount?
If they are lowering emissions and if they are doing so in a substantial way, we will back it. I have made that very clear. This is all singularly about lowering emissions. So the emissions reduction fund is something I'm actually quite proud of. We put it in place during the pandemic. It is a way to create jobs, to maintain the workers, to facilitate economic activity at a time when this industry was hurting crucially, and it is all about lowering emissions. Those projects are underway right now. 16 in my province in the Newfoundland offshore. Projects like Atlantic Towing Limited, which has demonstrated battery and electric technologies in offshore supply vessels. We've got 2 projects on the Hibernia platform. One is on flare reduction technology. The second is building a prototype digital power generation system to optimize platform energy use. Planetary Hydrogen, we're working with them to research whether their CCUS technology can be applied to offshore facilities. That's just the offshore. For the onshore, we have 40 projects underway in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia, projects that will eliminate methane emissions equivalent to 3.1 megatons of carbon dioxide. That's 674,000 cars off the road. Tundra Oil and Gas teaming up with the Steel Reef Infrastructure on a project that straddles the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border to capture methane emissions, because emissions know no borders. These are real projects with real jobs for workers and lowering emissions. That is our singular focus.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Smart. That's all your time, unfortunately. Mr. Cannings, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minister, for being here with us today. And I'm going to follow up on Monsieur Simar's questions about that tie into that International Energy Agency report. I'm happy to hear that Canada was one of the players that actually commissioned that report, who asked for it. I assume you accept the findings. And, one of the findings is that no new oil and gas projects are needed in the world. As you say, we have enough oil. Another one is that North American sources of oil and gas will see a real diminishment in their market share as opposed to other parts of the world. And so this, will obviously have real impacts on the Canadian energy sector. The Canada Energy Regulator came out with a report that said we didn't need Trans Mountain expansion. We didn't need Keystone XL. We had enough pipeline capacity with other pipelines. And yet we're doubling down on Trans Mountain expansion. The cost of that pipeline to the Canadian taxpayer is about the same as your projected investments over the next 10 years in climate action. So, without any real profits, we have independent analyses that show that there won't be any real profits for Canada from the Trans Mountain pipeline. Why not have a real plan to spend that money, that $15 billion, on projects for the future? Projects, you've outlined a lot of the good things that this government is starting to do to fight climate change. Why not double down on that to create good long-term jobs for the future, to really respect the workers in the energy sector, because they're facing a really uncertain future when they see reports like the IEA report, and we should be respecting them by investing in other sectors instead of the oil and gas sector.
Mr. Cannings, first of all, thank you for the questions. I would dispute a couple of assertions perhaps that you made. TMX is not about a new project. It is about making sure that we get oil to the right place and to the right markets and at the right price, and not suffer the discounts that we suffer at the moment. I would also say with the IEA report, I recognize it as being seminal, and we are still sifting through it and making sure that we get good analyses of it. I am invested in it. Canada, I'm a founding member of the IEA's Global Commission on a People-Centered Clean Energy Transition. Wording's a bit cumbersome, but I think you get the idea, and that is because I am advocating consistently, and every time I meet with the IEA, we're meeting again on that commission next week to talk about workers. And I agree with you on that point. While lowering emissions is urgent, it must be done effectively, and it must be done in an orderly fashion. That last word I know is orderly sounds, but it's very important that we get it right in order to make sure that we protect our industry and our workers, and at the same time urgently lowering emissions. And I do believe that challenge is possible. I would say, on the IEA, again, to come back to my earlier point, there are different types of oil. There are some that are inherently lower emitting than others. That is a fact. And Newfoundland and Labrador, for instance, has some of the lowest in the world. Secondly, we can, because we have the capacity in this country, to make sure that we lower those emissions even further. For instance, on natural gas, not all natural gas can be utilized in the same way. We see it as a very positive thing for blue hydrogen. Blue hydrogen, as part of our national hydrogen strategy, is where we see Alberta going. It's where we see Saskatchewan going. Right now, you have about 90% efficacy, and in that 90% will be captured by CCUS. We believe we can drive those numbers higher. I have great faith in our ability to do that, so that we can, get closer to 100%. So blue hydrogen being used in that space to produce hydrogen is only a plus for lowering emissions and for Canadian competitiveness and for Canadian workers.
Well, thank you. And I guess I would dispute your assertion that Trans Mountain is not about new projects. It's an expansion project, after all. It's about exporting more oil from Canada. And that clearly really won't be necessary under this new study. I'd like to turn now to where I'd like to see more money spent, and that is in projects like retrofits. I'm very happy that the government has basically restarted what was the Eco Energy retrofit program with these grants for $5,000. It's a very good sign. I had a private member's bill on that in the last Parliament. I'm happy to see the loan programs. But as I said, when you came before us the last time before this committee, we're leaving out the people that are in energy poverty, the people that pay more than 6% of their household incomes on energy costs. And I'm just wondering if there's any plans. I know you've heard from me, you've heard from Efficiency Canada, to bring in a no-cost turnkey plan that would help those people retrofit their homes at no cost to themselves. These are the older homes that need it. Is there any plans to do that?
Briefly, if you can, Minister.
Yeah, I would just say, I think it's interesting, Mr. Kennings. I just came from an announcement on social housing. Myself and virtually appearing was Minister Hussein on 8 new social housing units right in the middle of my riding, all EnerGuide, all home efficiency, using, my department was involved. So you've got this, which is the Canada Greener Homes Grant, which, I agree. I think it's open to, thousands, if not millions of Canadians. Happy to say that our website crashed yesterday, although we brought it back fairly quickly. Proud of my department for doing that. But there are other areas, particularly under Mr. Hussein's department, where we are making sure that reach is broader. And I said yesterday in the media, I personally believe that we are only going to build this up. It just makes too much sense. I agree with you.
Thank you, Minister. Thanks, Mr. Kennings. Okay, we're now moving into the second round of 5 minutes per questioner, starting with Mr. Zimmer, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minister, for coming today. We had talked to the Minister of International Trade previously about a softwood lumber agreement, and she gave us the impression that negotiations were happening. And then we saw this article from Catherine. It was a Reuters article, May 16th, and it was a quote from Catherine Tai, the U.S. Trade Representative. She told U.S. senators that despite higher prices, the fundamental dispute remains, and this is between Canada and the U.S., and there have been no talks on a new lumber quota agreement. Quote, in order to have an agreement and in order to have a negotiation, you need to have a partner. And thus far, Canadians have not expressed interest in engaging, Tai said. Can you just speak to that, Minister? Are you aware, I guess, whether there's a negotiation going on or not?
I will say, look, Minister Ng is very active on this file with her American counterparts right now, and we've consistently raised this issue. We raised it with the President directly. We've raised it with members of his cabinet. U.S. duties on Canadian softwood lumber, they are unwarranted, they are unjustified, they are unfair, they hurt our workers, they hurt our forestry sector, and frankly, they hurt their sector as well. We are still pressing for a negotiated settlement. It's in the best interest of both our countries. The U.S. needs our softwood lumber. We supply roughly a quarter of what is consumed in the U.S. That's about, it's over $8 billion. And the U.S. housing market continues to rise. The demand for softwood lumber is only going to increase as a result.
Let me ask you this then to follow up on that, Minister, because I guess active is I guess we need to understand what that actually means, because it was the day after we saw that Minister Ng, a statement from Canada's Trade Ministry said, and this is also from Reuters the day after, that said Ng also raised concerns about U.S. trade policies, but the two agreed on the need to strengthen North America's supply chains. We agree. Minister Ng reiterated that it was in the best interest of both countries to reach an agreement on softwood lumber. So I'm going to ask you a real blunt question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you as a government negotiating a new softwood lumber agreement? Yes or no?
Minister Ng continues to work on this file. She works on it with her American counterparts, obviously. Look, preserving a rules-based trade is essential. It's why we included an effective and transparent dispute settlement resolution mechanism in Chapter 10 for CUSMA.
This was just a yes or no question.
We will use whatever tools we need to defend Canada's forestry workers, particularly in the softwood lumber industry, including through litigation under Chapter 19 of NAFTA, including Chapter 10 of CUSMA, and including the World Trade Organization.
Okay, thank you, Minister. I didn't get an answer there, but I think, based on what my colleague before had asked clarity. No, hold on.
I can be blunt with you about this, though. Look, I think the U.S.
I asked for a yes or no question, Minister, and you didn't give me a yes or no answer. So I give you the time again to do it. My time is short, so please, yes or no.
The U.S. hasn't been willing. We are.
Well, Minister Catherine Tai, the U.S. Trade Representative, says the exact opposite. She says that there needs to be, in order to have an agreement and in order to have a negotiation, you have to have a partner. And thus far, Canadians have not expressed interest even in engaging, Minister. This is right from the U.S. Trade Representative.
Well, this is from the Minister of Natural Resources. The U.S. has not been willing. We are.
Well, based on what my colleague before, Mr. McLean, had talked about clarity of outcome, I think we're seeing with exorbitant fluctuations and instability in our forest sector, and really in forest and lumber prices in North America. We see this, after this May 24th, it's a Bloomberg News article. So after this supposed confidence that the minister is supposed to bring to the file, Commerce's International Trade Administration has calculated a preliminary duty of 18.32%, but the current 8.99% rate remains in place because its final determination hasn't been made. From our own Susan Yurkovich from COFI, we find significant increase in today's preliminary rates doubling, Susan Yurkovich said, president of the BC Lumber Council. In particularly, it is particularly egregious given lumber prices are at a record high and demand is skyrocketing in the U.S. as families across the country look to repair, remodel, and build new homes. Our sector needs stability, Minister, and this fluctuation just shows that a softwood lumber agreement would be instrumental in stabilizing the industry. And frankly, we just haven't seen movement. I mean, you're saying one thing, the U.S. Trade Representative is saying another. I'll just say it. I was just in Prince George and throughout my riding yesterday.
Mr. Zimmer, can you ask a question? Yeah. I'll give him a brief time to answer because they're actually out of time now. But if you want to put the question to him, I'll allow him to answer.
What are you doing to provide stability to the forest sector, Minister?
We are seeking an agreement. The USA is not willing to reach an agreement. We are. But I would also say, Mr. Zimmer, I hear you loud and clear on the frustration of your constituents and of your province. We share that frustration.
Thank you, Minister. Thanks, Mr. Zimmer. Mr. Lefebvre, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, I hope everything is well. I've been waiting for a while to be in this position to ask you questions, and here I am. Certainly, I want to chat about, you mentioned in your opening remarks, about the mining sector, which is near and dear to my community here in Sudbury. Actually, yesterday, I met with Glencore representative and discussed the footprint that they have here in Sudbury, and certainly probably one of the greenest mines and greenest mining sector we have in here in Sudbury in the world. Basically, their footprint, they have one of their mines actually smaller than the Canadian Tire at the end of the street. So it's amazing the innovation going on in this sector and how it has transformed itself. And certainly as we see our economy is really shifting to energy, the energy sector, and certainly the clean energy that we require. And certainly the battery electric vehicles is key to that, and certainly we need batteries. And so the critical minerals that we extract here, and I know in your province as well. So, Inco or Vale is in your province is very important as well. So really want to hear you, and maybe you provide some input as to where you think that the sector is now and the potential of the battery electric vehicle sector and the role of Canada in the world. When I was PS, I had met the opportunity to meet with a lot of international ministers of mines and energy, and just looking at us as one of their tier one destinations, and really asking us as to what we were doing. And certainly, sometimes we don't look at ourselves like that in Canada, being the modest people that we are. So I really want to hear from you as to where you think that the sector is right now, and the importance of the sector to our economy.
Thank you, and it is good to have you in that chair as well. You served very well. I think most members of this committee know this as well as parliamentary secretary, and it's good to see you, Paul. I would say a couple of things. We should be less modest about these things. We should be prouder and speak it. It's a crowded and competitive international space, so we should be loud and proud about our natural resources sector, and in this particular case in mining. In terms of its future overall, I was reading the other day that the average offshore wind turbine will require 60,000 pounds of copper. That's a lot of copper. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of wind turbines that are being built right now. And to speak to Voisey's Bay in Labrador, which very, very familiar to me. I actually have a core sample from Voisey's Bay from the 1990s on my desk in Ottawa. I haven't seen it in quite some time. But the nickel and mining products generally, it gets back to my point about oil. There are some that are better than others. And the nickel that is produced at the Voisey's Bay find in Labrador, as Ms. Jones knows very well, is some of the cleanest and best in the world. And there will be a demand for that sort of cleaner products. I think that manufacturers and consumers are going to be very discriminating as we learn more about battery production, as we learn more about mining. I think Canadian ESG will only shine in this instance. We are transparent. We are a provider. We are a transparent provider. We are a reliable provider, and we play by trade rules. Unlike, frankly, some of our competitors, we are secure. We are sustainable. And that includes in critical minerals. We released, as you know, earlier this year, a critical minerals list, 31 critical minerals: aluminum, graphite, rare earth elements, zinc. And we can and we will produce every one of them. And our workers and our prospectors and our developers they'll lead the way. And those are the essential minerals for developing clean technologies like solar panels and EV batteries. They are essential to lowering emissions and therefore increasing our competitiveness and strengthening our energy security.
How much time do I have, Mr. Chair? I want to be sure.
1 minute.
2 more minutes? Okay, 1 minute. Well, and certainly, and on that point, certainly, I want you to speak certainly to the circular economy when it comes to that. So, and the potential that offers across the country, as we're looking at this sector, there's a limited amount of certainly of nickel and copper around the world, and certainly as we develop this sector, we need to make sure that we recycle these materials as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And I've certainly in my writing here, there's so much potential just in the waste piles that we have of having a lot of these rare earths, and certainly these elements that are stacked away in there. So I think that there's tons of potential in that sector of creating that circular economy. It's not something that even 5 years ago we were really even talking about. So we want to maybe just to hear you on and hear your thoughts on that potential of the circular economy when it comes to battery electric vehicles and making sure that we recycle as many minerals that we can.
Maybe it wasn't clear. The 1 minute included the answer. It was meant to include the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I would just say, look, we're doubling down on critical minerals. We did in budget 2021. We established a critical battery mineral center of excellence. We're working with the provinces and territories, and we will be implementing the Canada-U.S. Joint Action Plan on critical minerals. This is something that is very important to the U.S. as well. And we want to establish secure supply chains with the U.S.
Awesome. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Minister. Okay, on to Mr. Simard for 2.5 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur James.
Thank you, Mr. James. So quickly, Minister, I'd like to come back to this $559 million for the Emissions Reduction Fund. To my mind, the oil and gas sector is a sector that produces carbon, and the forestry sector is a sector for carbon sequestration. So the primary principle in environment is the polluter who pays. But you're applying the principle of the polluter who is paid. I don't know if you know over the last 4 years what your government has given to the forestry sector is about $70 million in Quebec. And 75% of this is our loans. That's 0.3% of the $20 billion that the forestry sector brings in every year in Quebec. So you're receiving 4 times what you invest in the forestry sector. So I don't know if you can understand the dismay of actors in the forestry industry when they see that in 1 year, $559 million, I calculated quickly, you didn't invest it in the forestry sector. Even in the last 25 years, do you find this unfair?
Merci, Monsieur Simard.
Thank you, Mr. Simard.
Since 2007 to 2010, I think that we've put $357 million into forestry transformation. We've got $3.2 billion coming up for 2 billion trees. I think that there are other mechanisms that are playing themselves out in the marketplace as they should right now. I think one of them is carbon pricing. And I think the second one is a clean fuel standard. I think carbon pricing is playing itself out right now. I am going to ask to flesh this out some more for you. Perhaps I'm going to ask my Deputy Minister, Jean-François Tremblay, to intervene here. Jeff?
Oui, sur le fond des réductions des émissions, comme le ministre...
For the Emissions Reduction Fund, as the Minister said, we already have a carbon pricing. We've already put in standards for fuels. And for the fund, it's a fund that was put in place to address the issue of methane emissions. We've already put in regulations for methane in place, and it's to have the maximum of decrease of greenhouse gases with existing production. And if you read the reports, including the IEA report, they say that we will have to go with CCUS. We will have to decarbonize existing emissions, existing production. And with the first call for propositions, we've got 3 point.
Mr. Simard, maybe you can get back to that in the next round. Mr. Cannings.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm going to move on now to a couple of questions about the nuclear industry. Specifically, in the estimates, it says the Atomic Energy of Canada Limited is getting over $800 million for decommissioning and waste management. I have a specific question on that. Is part of that to deal with the waste at Chalk River, which I hear constantly about from concerned citizens? They're concerned about the plans for just an open pile of nuclear waste there. And secondly, just a more higher level question about an integrated nuclear waste management strategy that is developed outside of industry. Right now we have the Nuclear Waste Management Organization that is part of industry. You and your government have constantly said you want to regain the trust and confidence of Canadians with regards to nuclear waste management. And to me, an integral part of that is having a strategy that's developed by the people of Canada, by the government, and not by industry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cannings, for the question. And I'll begin and maybe ask, I'll have Molly get ready maybe to finish off my thoughts on this and to get granular with you. First of all, when it comes to nuclear energy, safety is our top priority. Radioactive waste has to be safely managed. There's no question. And we're always looking at ways to improve so we can have the best policy in place that is based on science, that is based on facts, and that continues to meet international standards. We launched our engagement process on modernizing Canada's radioactive waste management framework back in October. I have participated in roundtables on the issue because it's important to so many Canadians and specifically to Indigenous peoples. So we have to take it seriously. Molly, maybe you can expand on this for Mr. Cannings.
You bet. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Cannings, you were asking first about the AECL spending. So the funding that is in the estimates will be used to support AECL in delivering on its mandate. So that's enabling nuclear science and technology. It's addressing the radioactive waste management and also its decommissioning responsibilities. And so with this, they're also supporting the renewal and the revitalization of the Chalk River Labs. With respect to your question on the radioactive waste review, I just do want to be clear that the policy development itself, that is within the authority of Natural Resources Canada. We have the accountability for that policy work. On the strategy, which would then be based on the policy, that's where NWMO would come into play. But again, the policy itself is within the authority of the government. On engagement and consultation, we really did work in 3 phases. The first was to engage with stakeholders, Indigenous people, provinces and territories about how they want to be engaged. Then we did the consultations, and now we're in the process of developing a What We Heard report. So that's the part of the process that we're in right now, and we look forward to those end on Monday, actually, which is May 31st, in terms of the feedback process that we're getting, and then we'll look forward to coming forward with the changes, but that's going to take us a little bit of time to develop.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Thanks, Mr. Cannings. On to Mr. Lloyd for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, the designation of plastic as a toxic substance threatens a significant amount of jobs and investment in our country. Can you tell me, Minister, what have you been hearing? Have you been hearing concerns from your provincial counterparts on this move?
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. I mean, first of all, to state the obvious, I mean, it's an ECCC issue, but yeah, I mean, I've heard and read the same concerns, but I think at the same time, I think it's really important to note how important plastics are, particularly in this pandemic world that we live in.
Now, what has industry been telling you about the threat to jobs and investment in our country based on this move?
That I have not heard about directly.
But have you heard about it indirectly?
Well, I think probably in the same reports and the same media coverage that you have.
Are you aware that these companies are taking the government to court over this move?
I am not, but perhaps I can ask my deputy minister if he has any thoughts on the issue.
Well, before we go to that, Minister, what are you doing to advocate for the plastics industry in Canada?
Well, I mean, it's not within my bailiwick, but I mean, certainly,
But you sit around the cabinet table when these decisions are made. I'm not asking you to divulge what you're saying in cabinet, but how are you, in high terms, how are you advocating for this industry?
Advocating for the industry by making sure that we have a low emitting and competitive oil and gas industry.
Well, what does that have to do with the plastics industry in terms of emissions?
Well, I think it has, that's oil. Plastics are derived from oil.
Yes, and they're sequestered into the plastic product. I mean, plastics is not a huge emitting
Point of order,
industry.
Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Lefebvre.
Or Mr. Chair, sorry. We're talking about plastics here. This is
I hope this doesn't take up my time, Mr. Chair.
No, that's fine. You can have your time. I don't mind at all. This is completely ECCC. The minister has his hands full with all of the sectors that he's dealing with on his own. So the fact that we want to talk about plastics here in the plastic industry really has no relevance at all, I think, to the discussion and having the Minister of Natural Resources here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lefebvre. Yeah, Mr. Lloyd, I mean, I don't think you'll disagree that we're pretty flexible on how tightly we stick to the relevancy of questions relating to the subs, but I think this one's a little far afield. So,
well, I hope
I didn't
this doesn't
take away
affect
from
my
your
time.
time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I will say in my defense, the minister is the Minister for the Canada Energy Regulator, which does deal with pipelines, which deals with transportation of natural gas for the production of plastics. So it is related.
That's
but I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to a next line of questioning. I note on page 168 of the budget 2021 that a new tax credit has been being approved for carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. But it specifically says that it's excluding enhanced oil recovery. Why was this decision made by this government? Why did you make this decision?
Well, look, I think that we'll see, where things go. Those consultations have yet to take place. Budget 2021, we've got $319 million to support RD&D, and we've got that investment tax credit for capital invested in CCUS, as you said, for CCUS projects to support and accelerate the adoption of it. And we're launching
But it seems pretty cut and dry that the budget document says this does not include enhanced oil recovery. Why was that added in the budget?
Well, I think that we want to make sure that we get the consultations right, and I'm sure that conversations about that are going to come up in those consultations. I mean, it's so
that's subject to change. You're saying that we could include enhanced oil recovery as a tax credit.
I'm looking forward to what comes out of the consultation period.
Are you against including enhanced oil recovery as a tax credit?
I'm open to the ideas that we will hear from stakeholders in the oil patch with provincial governments like Alberta.
I can assure you the Sturgeon refinery in my riding, which is the #1 carbon sequester in the country, would very much appreciate being included in this tax credit, because you're well aware of this refinery, Minister, over 1 million tons of CO2 sequestered in this last year alone, all for enhanced oil recovery, but they're not being included, Minister.
Listen, that consultation will take place. I am very excited about a national CCUS strategy. I think it's going to be a game changer. It'll lower emissions. It will support our oil and gas workers. It will support workers and create jobs. And we can't create CCUS without them.
Not if it excludes enhanced oil recovery, though, Minister.
Mr. Lloyd, I'm going to ask you to. You're free to ask the questions you want, but for the benefit of the interpreters, it would be great if you could let them finish speaking before you start speaking over at the minister.
I am convinced that CCUS will help us get to net zero. That is what our plan focuses on. I think that this could be a considerable strength for the country, and I think it's particularly well suited to the manufacture of blue hydrogen in Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Well, I'm convinced it will as well, but I'm not convinced that it will if we take your guys' plan and exclude enhanced oil recovery, which is going to be absolutely critical when we're talking about companies like Whitecap Resources in Saskatchewan, the Sturgeon refinery in my riding, the Boundary Dam project. I mean, these projects need enhanced oil recovery, maybe not to the same level as the non-enhanced oil recovery, but we need this enhanced oil recovery to be covered under this tax credit. Thank you. I guess that's my time, probably, Speaker. Chair.
It is. You're right on time, in fact, for which I'm very grateful. So thank you.
Let me just add, Mr. Chair, if I could indulge me for 5 seconds, just to say to the honourable member that I appreciate his kind words about Mr. Justice Wells, who was a great friend of mine. He was on the bench with my dad, and Bob was a mentor to me. So I appreciated his kind words yesterday in the debate on S3.
Great. Thank you, Minister. Ms. Jones, over to you for 5 minutes. You're on mute, Yvonne. Yvonne, you're on mute. Nope, keep trying. There you go.
Working?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And nice that you could join us today, Minister. It's always good to hear about the activity that's ongoing in your department. You're obviously a very busy minister. When in this committee, we've studied so many different facets of your department and issues that affect it. So we have some insight into what you deal with every day. I wanted to ask today, of course, about the support for clean energy for rural and remote communities. Having grown up in Labrador yourself, you know exactly how important it is for us in the Arctic, subarctic regions of Canada and in remote communities to ensure that we can have other fuel sources, I guess, or other energy sources to help reduce our reliance on diesel and fossil fuels, and especially in many Indigenous communities. So I noticed in the budget that you were requesting $55.9 million. Can you give us an update on what some of the new measures that will be you'll be funding through this allocation?
Thank you, Ms. Jones, Yvonne. And I think, you know very well my thoughts on this matter and how close I am to it. When we look at the partnerships that we're setting up with Indigenous natural resource partnerships and the focus that we have had on coastal communities, it's worth noting that Nunavut, which is the northern part of Labrador, which of course is Ms. Jones's riding, communities that she and I have traveled together to, and even I can't believe it's been 2 years now since we were up in Nain last. But I was with you, Yvonne, up there. The reliance on diesel in those areas is extraordinary, but at the same time, northern Nunavut is experiencing warming at twice the rate of anywhere else in the Canadian Arctic, and the Canadian Arctic is experiencing warming at twice the rate of anywhere else in the world. The polar regions are getting affected most quickly. I was reading how Natan Obed was saying that he used to have to walk out so many kilometers out onto the ice in order to be able to harvest fish, and now he can almost do it from his door. So that what we're ending up with is a situation where the wisdom of elders in being able to know the land is changing, because the land itself is changing and the sea ice is changing. I want to get into the weeds of it, so I'm going to go over to my Deputy Minister, Jean-François, just to speak briefly about where we are right now with Indigenous and Indigenous communities and Northern communities getting off diesel.
Yes, Monsieur le Ministre. Thank you, Ministers. Yeah, we received $300 million on off diesel for communities, remote communities. And we already received funding. As you know, we have more than 120 projects, I think, across the country, helping communities to get out of the dependency to diesel. So what we are doing at the moment is working on the implementation of the new initiatives, building on the pipelines of projects that we already have. And we will be also engaging with Indigenous groups over the next few months on how we want to work together moving forward. Our objective is always has been, as you know, there's many departments working on this file, on this issue, from Indigenous Services Canada, Crown Indigenous Relationship. Our objective is actually to make sure that we make it as easy as possible for Indigenous communities as well as remote communities to work with us in developing plans to address the issue and finding solutions. And we also want, of course, in order to do that, to invest in research because it's, in some cases, it's a technological challenge. And also invest, of course, in deployment and capacity. So that's the way we want to address the situation.
And I think, Ms. Jones, you know how important capacity building is to me personally, and Jean-François was my Deputy Minister at Indigenous Services Canada as well, being able to build up that capacity on the ground up so that the solutions that we find for these communities are community-led are incredibly important. And I look forward to some really good news on the ground, not only in your riding, but in other Northern and Indigenous-led ridings.
Thanks, Ms. Jones. I think I'm going to have to stop you there, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so the minister has a hard stop at 2:30. We have 11 minutes left. If the Liberal members and the Conservative members are willing to reduce their time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, we will get able to have 4 more people ask questions, 1 person from each party. Mr. Patzer, you're next, so perhaps I should ask you whether you're okay with that.
Well, I'd obviously prefer 5 minutes if I could have it, but.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, if we can just let the next round go for the full 5 minutes and then revert, that would be, I think, more amenable.
Okay, well, that's fine. That means Mr. Simard, Mr. Canning's here, finished for the day. Okay, Mr. Patzer, carry on.
Thank you very much, Minister. I just want to start quickly by just continuing on a point that my colleague, Mr. Lloyd, was going on there on the enhanced oil recovery. If we're trying to make our oil production more efficient and making it more environmentally sustainable and friendly, the Carbon Capture Storage Knowledge Center has a stat out there that if you use enhanced oil recovery, it's 30% more eco-efficient. So with numbers like that, why does your government, why are we deciding to not invest further in it when it is proven to make it a more efficient production? Plus, it's also storing and sequestering that carbon as well. So it's kind of a win-win, is it not?
Well, we've said in the budget that the tax credit as we envision it is not intended towards enhanced oil recovery. But having said that, and I've said this before, I am looking forward to hearing from stakeholders during that 90-day consultation period.
Okay. Do you think that 30% though would be a good enough number to make it viable, to make it something that you'd move towards? Just I know we're kind of spitballing here, but
No, that's okay. I think, I am looking forward, genuinely, this isn't, this is a genuine consultation period to determine those details with stakeholders in the oil patch and with provincial governments like Alberta's.
Okay, thank you. There's a few line items when I'm looking through the main estimates here that kind of just like your input on it.
Sure.
Contribution in support of Indigenous natural resources partnerships. There was expenditures for 2019-20. There was zero for 2020-2021, but then there's funding again for 21-22. Why was there nothing for 2021?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer before me at the moment. I'll ask my deputy minister if he may, or if one of the other of my officials who are present may have an answer to that question for you, sir.
Just really briefly.
Yeah.
I would turn to Shirley, or maybe we can send you a response by a writing response.
Yeah, I won't take up your valuable time, but we can get you an answer.
I greatly appreciate that. And there's one other line item that relates, the Indigenous Consultations Participant Funding Program, same thing, funding in 1920, none in 2021, but reduced funding again in 21-22. So an explanation for that. If you want to include it in the same, or if you have it now,
we will include it in the same. And the only thing I can conjure up for you is that it might be project related. But I
may respond to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, what you have in front of you is the main estimate. Sometimes things come through subs. So in the context for those one last year, the funding came through sub actually.
Okay.
Okay, it's just kind of funny though that the two topics that deal with Indigenous partnerships are the ones that have nothing. And every other line item there, it seems, has funding allocated towards it. And just kind of staying on that train of thought, Minister. If we're going to be building oil pipelines that have Indigenous involvement, Indigenous participation, do you think that those are pipelines worth advancing and worth having built?
Well, I mean, if they go through the environmental assessment process, if you have indigenous consultation and participation, yes, I mean, but it has to go through the process, obviously, and you need to make sure that you have affected Indigenous organizations on board.
Okay, I'm just going to give you just a quick quote and then your thoughts on it here from Stephen Buffalo, who's the president of the Indian Resource Council, and his quote was that. Your government's actions could, quote, undo one of the most important examples of Indigenous engagement, unquote. And he's referring to the energy sector here. So just kind of wondering your thoughts on that.
I have appeared before, the Assembly of First Nations gathering of chiefs, and I can tell you that views on energy, on oil, on pipelines are as different and disparate across that group as they are, maybe at some family tables or in the House of Commons. I mean, each organization is very different. Each community is different, and each First Nation is different. Each Métis community is different, and their views on it are different. And within those communities are different. And not to belabor the point, but you know what I mean. Certainly, getting those consultations right, we know is absolutely essential in order to have a predictable predictable process in order to make sure that good projects get built, including pipelines.
Quickly, thank you. Quickly, I got 30 seconds here. So you said $319 million for carbon capture and storage over 7 years. You also alluded to earlier, emissions have no borders. There is again, carbon capture knowledge center, 8.5% of the coal plants in China, if they had carbon capture on it, it would capture the same amount of emissions of Canada as an entirety. So what are you doing to expand carbon capture beyond Canada's borders to help reduce global emissions?
I don't know what exactly, about other countries. I just know that, CCUS is something that we are being very aggressive about. I've heard the concerns from yourself, Mr. Lloyd, and from others about, where things will figure into the consultation process. We take it all seriously. We want to get it right. It will need to be competitive. The Americans are also getting very aggressive on CCUS as well. Between the ESG product, high ESG of our product and with CCUS, not only do I think are we lowering emissions in the oil and gas industry, we could open up an incredible market in hydrogen.
Thanks, Minister. Thanks, Mr. Patzer. Okay, Mr. McLeod, you have the last 5 minutes of questions today.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good to see everybody in committee, and welcome to the Minister. As the Minister knows, the North is not the same. It doesn't face the same challenges.
Pardon, Monsieur le Président, il y a plus de...
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, interpretation stopped.
Je crois que c'est le micro de...
I think it's Mr. McLeod's microphone is the issue.
Okay, Michael, just talk for a sec, see if it's working now.
Yeah, it was good when we tested it earlier.
Did that work, Mayor?
Are we still having a problem?
Maybe if you put your translation, oh no, that's not going to solve the problem. Okay, is there a fix here, Madam Clerk?
I'm just going to confer with our folks in IT here. I know we're having some difficulties. The sound is sort of cutting in and out, so I will get some more information and report back shortly. Thank you.
I think Michael, if you lift your boom a little bit, it might help.
You know, we're experiencing climate change impacts like nowhere else in Canada, where we got, I think in the last 2 weeks, we had 5 communities flooded, and to the extent that we've never seen before. And I'm on flood watch right now with a community that's the water is going to be over the banks pretty soon. And, you know, so water levels, temperature change, melting permafrost, shore erosion, forest fires, we've got it all. And, you know, the sad reality is we have very little in terms of greenhouse gas emission. So it's really something that concerns us, and we want to see every avenue taken to try to change that. And the announcement for the $2.6 billion for home retrofit grants was very good to see. I think a lot of people in our communities are happy with it. You know, I have a large Indigenous population, and we have challenges with housing. So this is something that's going to go a long ways. However, we have issues that our costs are higher. We have isolation concerns. You know, we have construction seasons that don't match the South. So I'm hoping the minister is going to be able to let us know if there's going to be a solution that is kind of tailored to the North, so we can be included as part of this. That's my first question. And the second question is on the energy advisors. You know, these positions are going to require people with high level of education, degrees in the field already before they're actually even considered as an advisor. We have a small population. We don't have that many experts in this field. I'm hoping that this program, this portion of the announcement will allow us to try to tailor a training program for so we could have people from the North doing this job as energy advisors. So 2 questions I have for the minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McLeod. 2 excellent questions. And as I just answered with Ms. Jones, I've seen it, where I grew up in Labrador. It is literally making the wisdom that has been passed down over hundreds, if not thousands of years in our communities in northern Labrador. It is rendering it no longer accurate, I think would be a soft way of putting it, because everything has changed. There, the ice highways that connect communities are no longer there when they need to be there. So, as I indicated earlier, all of this, including, 2 of the things that you mentioned. We were talking earlier about off diesel, but also talking about housing within these communities, steps that we can take in order to adapt to a changing climate, and even on the issue, as you rightly mentioned, about energy advisors. There's about 800 energy advisors in the entire country right now, and the Prime Minister and I I think about a week ago announced that we would begin training. We're taking now proposals on training another 2,000. We see this as an incredible opportunity to really increase the number of people who we hire that would be Indigenous. Also women human, but also Indigenous. And that would be in those communities that are affected, that know their communities best, using local knowledge, using local capacity. I know we don't have much time, and I don't want to put him on the spot, but only because he was my former Deputy Minister at Indigenous Services. JF may have just something that he may want to quickly add in order to flesh out my answer for Mr. McLeod.
Thank you, Minister. No, you're right. The North has specific challenges and specific opportunities at the same time, especially on the issues of adaptation. And on the issue of training, I would actually turn to Molly because I know we've been doing some work to ensure that as much as possible, we make sure that the advisors are where the needs are and not necessarily just downtown Ottawa, if I could say. Molly.
Exactly.
And I'll be super quick. I think, we did an early agreements with trusted partners to fill some of those gaps. The announcement that the Prime Minister and Minister Regan made is really focused on diversity and inclusion, but also looking at training people in the places that they need them. Mr. McLeod, as you noted, that training will focus on how do we help overcome any of those barriers for energy advisors as they want to upskill, learn sort of how houses work. Traditionally, these have come in from specific sectors of the economy, and we want to help overcome and provide more training, and so do that on an accelerated basis. So that's part of the focus of what we're doing, and also work to ensure that we're taking a regional and place-based approach. So also right now in the portal, individuals who have different ownership structures on Indigenous communities, they can call into the call line, and we'll support and facilitate their entry into the portal.
Mr. McLeod, I would just add, you can hold me to account on this. I grew up in the North. My officials have heard me too many times, well, never enough, that we have to take into account local capacity, but particularly in the North. And I'm very, very sensitive of that. And if you see that that's not the case in your communities, you can hold me to account, and I know you will, Michael. So thank you.
Minister, that's the appropriate way to end. You're here today, so we can hold you to account.
Point of order,
thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Mr. McLean.
And if I could ask the minister through you to stay an extra 10 minutes, because I did think he started a little late because of officials having a difficulty getting in. I know he committed to an hour and a half to us, but that's an hour and a half, I think, of questioning, not an hour and 15 or 20 minutes. If you would say the extra 10, I'd appreciate that.
It's not an unreasonable request, Mr. McLean, but I understand that the minister had a hard stop at 2:30. It's now 2:30, almost 2:34, and we started at 1:05. So we're arguing over a minute and a half at this point, if we want to get right down to it.
Well, I'll challenge your timing on that, Mr. Chair, because I think we started closer after 1:10, and the minister took his first 10 minutes getting on page, so we didn't actually start asking questions until after 20 after.
Well, okay, but Mr. McLean, in fairness, the 90 minutes or the time allocated for any meeting always includes time for introductory remarks, and in this case, that's the minister.
Well,
so I don't know the deduct his opening
Agreed,
remarks.
Mr. Chair, but at the same time, it is predicated upon, of course, the officials showing up and being there, not sitting around waiting while we're waiting for officials and others to come online so we can ask the minister questions. So 10 minutes is not a big ask. If the minister's available, it'd be wonderful.
My understanding is that he's beyond the time he had available, and I've received messages from his office because I put the request in earlier, but the minister has a very tight schedule today. So unfortunately, I don't think we can accommodate that. I do want to thank the minister. I want to thank you for coming today. You've been very generous with your time, not only today, in my opinion, but throughout this last 4 months. So we're grateful for that. And I do understand you have to go. So, but the department officials are staying, Mr. McLean. So any further questions can be put to them.
Before I go, once again, I'm grateful to this committee to, I think, very reasonable and spirited debate and inquisition, and also, on other files and in a substantial way, we've been able to get things done. I appreciate the tone and the candor and the professionalism of the members of this committee. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Minister. Okay, so we can carry on. So next would be Mr. Simard and then Mr. Cannings. Now, we do have to vote on the mains and the sups. I mean, we do have time if we can put more questions to the department officials if we want, or we can move right to the votes. I will leave that to members to decide. Mr. Simard, do you want to?
Oui,
yeah, okay.
Oui, j'aurais une...
Yes, I would have a quick question. I don't know if Mr. Tremblay might be able to respond to it. I attended various meetings with people from the forestry sector who explained to me that, in their opinion, year after year, about $100 million are allocated to the IFIT program, and the budgets don't fit the demand. I see here 39 million for this program, ETIF in French. So there are about $100 million worth of requests for this program annually. Is that the situation? Indeed, for many government programs, there is more of a demand than what could be offered. But there was an addition of 155 million for the project in the budget that isn't in the main budget, but it will come later.
Bev?
En attendant, je peux vous faire remarquer que dans...
In the meantime, I could say that this additional fund or these additional monies aren't there yet. You're saying that the funds aren't there, Beth? Beth, if you could answer.
Thank you, Deputy. Can you hear me? Yes. So the IFIT, the Investment in Forest Industry Transformation, is oversubscribed every year, which is a positive signal that there's a need to advance and a willingness to advance the bioeconomy. Our latest call for proposals was the largest envelope ever. It was launched May 12th with a total of $120 million available. That includes a recent announcement of $54.5 million in budget 2021.
Juste vous faire...
A biorefinery. It would be the best solution to transform the forestry sector. It costs about $2 billion. There's never been federal support for that type of initiative. When I see the $550 million, close to $560 million for the emissions reduction strategy put out there to support a sector that produces greenhouse gases, I'm stumped. I'm stumped because I don't understand on what basis you make your decisions with regard to natural resources. You have a sector that could greatly contribute to reducing greenhouse gases, and it is pitifully supported. And you have the worst producer of greenhouse gases, and you're supporting it. So I'm asking you on what basis you're making these decisions. With all due respect, we don't decide between one side and the other side. It's not, oh, we're supporting forestry, but we're not supporting the other sectors. We support all sectors, all initiatives based on their value, their merit. And with regard to forestry and that sector, we do invest in forestry. We invest in innovation in forestry. We're investing more than in the past. And in the context that you bring up, the Emissions Reduction Fund, as I was stating earlier, it's not aimed at reducing production. It's aimed at removing methane from existing production processes. As the minister explained, we want to eliminate methane, eliminate GHGs, and as long as Canada will be producing oil, fossil fuels, we'll have to ensure that we have the cleanest fossil fuels in the world. And this is what we're doing with that fund. Just with the first call out, as I said, we had more than 3 megatons worth of reductions.
Boy, thank you. Mr. Canning's over to you.
Well, thank you. And I'll just finish with a quick question, hopefully on data. And I just want to thank the analysts for putting this little jog to my memory in the notes for this meeting. As you may remember, Mr. Chair, in the last Parliament, we did a study on energy data because it was noted that energy data was very difficult to access in Canada. Most of it came from the National Energy Board, but a lot of it was not very timely. It was not, you couldn't crosswalk it across provincial boundaries. And so most analysts ended up using data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. And I now know there's the new Canadian Centre for Energy Information led by StatsCan and NRCan. And I'm just wondering if someone could give me an update on where that project is. Are people using it? Is the data coming in as we from the committee wanted it to be, so that it would be comprehensive, easily accessible, and most of all timely? We were getting 2-year-old data most of the time.
The portal is up and running. I've been using it myself. It works very well. All those stakeholders, when I have discussion with stakeholders, including universities and so on, mention how useful it is to have such a tools. I don't have the data in terms of how many people actually have access and access it on a regular basis, but it is something we can do. And at some point, if the committee wants specifically a briefing on how to use it and what exactly is there and what we're thinking for the future, would be more than pleased to do that. I'm sure our scientists and our data gig would be more than pleased to actually brief the committee.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Mr. Kings. I remember that study, and I'm sure people are thinking, boy, a study on data must have been really exciting, which was my reaction when it was proposed, but it was actually very exciting and very interesting, believe it or not. So, okay, Mr. McLean, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I'm going to ask questions about the Canadian Energy Regulator here, because the mains are increasing from $71 million to $97 million, and yet, you know, you've had an opening here where you've moved from Calgary to Ottawa. Is this a function of how?
You're on mute, Craig.
I'm sorry about that. Did I get cut off midway, or?
You said, is this a function, and then it went off.
Okay. Is this a function of different costs in Ottawa versus its previous home in Calgary? Is this a function of more consultants being involved with the Canadian Energy Regulator? And if you could break that out about how much money we're paying in consultation fees to external organizations through the Energy Regulator, be much appreciated. But I also want to know about the mandate of the Energy Regulator, because it produced a report in November on the Trans Mountain Pipeline, talking about potentially decreasing volumes in the future going forward. And I didn't know ever before that was the Energy Regulator's mandate. So who commissioned the report, and who wrote it? And is it now is the organization now a victim of a regulatory capture by special interest groups? So if you could answer those questions, I think it would be really informative for the committee.
I would. You know, the CER is an independent organization with its own CEO, and I would respect that. And maybe that's a question you want to address to her on how they manage the organization. But on the report and maybe on the funding, what you see in the main, there's an adjustment in the main. Most of the adjustment, my understanding, is just it's money that was normally they were getting through subs that is now A-base, so they're getting through main estimate.
Well, no, actually, I correct you there, Mr. Tremblay. It's in fact been increasing ever since it moved to Ottawa. Oh. So mains and subs. So it's gone up to $97 million this year, from $71 million last year, from $56 million the previous year. So it's a continuous amount. So if there's nobody there to answer the questions, let me get to the next question for you, if you could, please. One thing that's gone down in these mains, of course, is contributions in support of cybersecurity and critical infrastructure protection. Well, let me explain what happened. I'm sure you know, on the east coast of the United States, when Colonial Pipeline had a hack. And we're spending less money now. So obviously we're going to be open to some kind of hack here potentially going forward. This is all great in the rearview mirror, but I'm going to suggest that perhaps we need our infrastructure looked after. And in that respect, you think about a cyber hack. We've had a political hack on our infrastructure that goes from Western Canada all the way to Sarnia to provide $540,000 of energy to Ontario. Why aren't we spending more money ensuring that, in fact, our agreements with the United States to honor the the Transit Pipeline Treaty are respected by our trade partner? And why isn't that part of this mains budget? Thank you.
I'm not sure on this one. I'm not sure I follow you on the last questions. On cybersecurity, I can tell you that we are part of the Canadian cybersecurity strategy. There's been funding that has been allocated from this for years. We have work with US, of course, on cybersecurity and energy. And we have been very active at working with our colleagues, and especially the utilities, on making sure that the grids and that our infrastructures are actually as safe as possible. It is an area that we take very seriously. And I can tell you that it is something that, through our renewal of the roadmap with the US in terms of our partnership, it is something that is actually at the center of our discussion and will continue to be. Our goal is as much as possible to have an integrated system that protect both sides of the border, to make sure we do exercise simulations together, and that we make sure that the strategies and mitigation strategies are in place on both sides of the border.
And yet you're cutting. This is one area where you're cutting. You're
I'm not sure,
spending half as much on cybersecurity as you did last year.
I'm not sure we're cutting on cybersecurity, and
you're spending less.
Okay, how
is that not a cut?
I will turn to Molly to explain.
So just to say, I think it's the way that we've been able to spend the contribution agreements in our partnership to conduct exercises with our partners. I think it's also important to note that, this is part of the work that we're doing with other jurisdictions. It's about what our partners are able to do on the other side of the border in a specific period of time. But this is also one slice of the work that we do. So we're also working with other partners in the federal system. We are sort of one part of the government's critical infrastructure plan that's managed by public safety, and with other organizations and agencies too. So
we're beating around the bush here. So
yeah, and I'm going to have to stop you there, Mr. McLean. Thanks. Okay, Mr. Saray, I can give you about. I believe you're next, Mr. Saray. I can give you about 3 minutes, probably.
Thank you.
And then we're going to have to move to the votes.
Thank you, Chair, for your generous time. So that's good. So I guess ma première question à Monsieur Labonté.
So I have a question for Mr. Labonté. Paul and I met a mining company, Glencore, and they're talking about CanMet. So there's a partnership with CanNet, and I know there are CanNet labs in Ottawa, Hamilton, and Sudbury. And so I'd like to know if you can tell us more about what CanNet is doing in the sector, please. Thank you, Mr. Serré.
One of NRCan's science and technology laboratories, and it's focused on mining and mining techniques and optimizing the approaches that reduce environmental impacts on mining. It also plays a particular role in regulating and certifying mining equipment that operates mostly underground, but to ensure the safety of the mining workplace. So we have a CanMet laboratory in Ottawa, one in Val-d'Or, one in Sudbury as well, and one that's co-located in Hamilton with our materials laboratory that does metals, lightweight, and research. So our programming in the CanMet mining has been focused for a number of years on a number of key deliverable areas. One is about mining value from waste. So taking mining operations that exist where there's waste residuals and waste rock and trying to produce commercially viable processes that can then extract minerals from those. There are immense numbers of critical minerals that are available in waste materials. And those materials were previously not particularly useful or seen as commercial, and yet now they're a source of potential value. And that extends right into the tailings that we see in sectors, including the oil sands sector in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and the work that we do across the country. At the same time, the CanMet mining has been working on rare earths and chromite. We're just concluding a 6-year research agenda in which there was over $40-some million spent on developing mining techniques for rare earth and rare earth elements. These are particularly interesting now in the critical mineral space in that they're in demand for batteries and magnets and other things that go into electric vehicles and advanced clean energy activities. We're now moving into areas around hydrogen and using hydrogen in the mining processes and looking at energy efficiency as well. So CanMet mining is one of our jewels of our research community that does the science and tech. The research is generally done in partnership with industry. So the industry usually has the research problems and the research challenges or a particular technique that they're trying to develop. And our scientists work directly with industry and with the university communities to kind of develop those new techniques.
Thank you. Looking forward to that expanding as much as we can too. So, and I don't know if I have much time, but Ms. Johnson, I just wanted you to expand on nuclear, our government's role on nuclear, because we've done quite a few enhancements there in the budget. So I just wanted to see if you could expand quickly on our commitment to nuclear.
It's a broad question, but if you can answer it quickly, I would be grateful.
Let me see what I can do. Listen, thank you very much. Just to say that the government has a long history of nuclear. A number of our Nobel Prizes in Canada come from nuclear. We also are committed to using it for peaceful purposes, and it provides a big part of our non-emitting power within Canada. And so I think with the SMR action plan that was released, it demonstrates one of the pathways that we're considering as Canada looks to the future and opportunities for decarbonization of our energy system. But as Mr. Canning had noted earlier, there's other parts that we're looking at as we move forward, which is the radioactive waste policy, nuclear compensation liability. So it's part of a balanced package as we move forward on nuclear.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Saray. Okay, and thank you to all our witnesses. We're going to move to the votes on the main estimates and the supplementary estimates. You're, of course, welcome to stay and witness this historic occasion if you want. So I will move. So look, we can do this one of two ways. We can do the mains and the subs together, and if there is unanimous consent, we can vote on all of the individual motions collectively, on the mains separately, on the subs separately, or we can do it all together in one sweeping motion, which would be more efficient, obviously. Does anybody object to doing it collectively? No? Okay, great. Thank you. So then the motion is, shall the votes referred to the committee in the supplementary estimates A and the main estimates carry?
On division, Mr. Chair.
On division. Thank you, Mr. McLean. Okay. Shall I report the votes back to the House?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Madam Clerk, unless I'm mistaken, I believe that's takes care of all of our business. Right. Okay. Efficient. Thank you, everybody. Have a enjoyable Friday. I'm going to go home and hopefully not have to shovel my driveway. But I will see everybody on Monday. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again to all of our witnesses for your time.
I'll be out on my bike
to watch the Habs winning tomorrow.